Okay, so off of eBay, I think his eBay address is Robert something, but just Bob, asked if I could convert his O gauge S4. So I told him I've never done one, so my ignorance level is really high, but I had no idea how high it was until I started investigating. So I've had this we've been working on this for about 3 weeks. I've learned a lot, and I've ordered some track, and I got the rollers so I can run it on a test stand. I'll have to pull out my American Flyer transformer so I can put AC power to it. As soon as the track arrives, I can do that. The decoders for these have to be, they can't just use a standard HO decoder because they max out at about 2 amps, and these things can pull up to 6 to 12 amps. And in the meantime, I'm going to be harassed by this guy, my great-grandson. No more. Okay. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to open the locomotive up and see what I have for a power system in it. And I may find out I'm just dead in the water. But it is a 2-track system, so I'm hoping it's modern enough that it does have the DC motor. So we'll take a look. Okay, we'll take a look at the bottom of this thing. So I believe that to open this up, I need to remove some screws, like this one right here. This screw is missing. I don't see any others other than, I think I saw a couple in the back. Yeah, there's one there and one there. So I'll pull those 4 screws out and see if that breaks all this loose. Okay, so I have tested the motor and it works fine. I was able to use the MRC Tech 6. It only puts out 14.8 volts, but that was plenty to get this thing really spinning. All the wires went to either this terminal or the other one, and you have this lead coming off. It goes on this and the red lead coming off. The pickups off the rails are isolated, so even though the motor is not isolated from the frame, it's isolated from everything else. I'm not going to worry about it because nothing else is going to touch the frame. The decoder is being programmed for the Alco 539T with a horn that they put on these units. I wanted the Webco, but I think we're going to end up with a different one, but we'll see. If you can find the Webco, we're fine. So, enough of this progress report. Okay, so I've got the decoder, and what I've got is this Quantum Titan. As you can see, we filled it out. It's been programmed for the 539T. It's the Magnum, and it's a 6 amp, which should be fine. This is the decoder, and as you can see, it's fairly large. So it's going to have to take a little bit of work to get it to go into the locomotive. Now the dimensions, I made this as an example so I could hopefully have a chance. So it's 2.60 by 1.30 by 0.95. So if you're thinking about doing this, make sure you have room for it to go in before you start. Now this is, like a narrow cab in the O gauge. So it was just too narrow with the grills up here. So what I did was I took my Dremel, and you can see I've machined this little lip off right here on both sides. I think you can see it. And that allows the decoder to fit in. And it still leaves enough space then, once it's in. I mean, it just barely fits. But it fits. It goes down in, and it leaves plenty of space above the gearing. I'll figure out a way to secure it. The wiring schematics are here. We'll test this decoder in just a few minutes to make sure it's going to work. I'll use the Tech 6. This is the DC operation. We're going to DCC. So So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I hope I'm not getting over optimistic. The lights, it had regular 12-volt bulbs in it, but I want to go to make it look more realistic, so I'm going with the yellow glow white LEDs by Minitronics. And I've got some 5mm and the 3mm, and the 5mm are too big. It's like a 4mm bulb, so I went with the 3. And what I've done is taken like a credit card or just a plastic card, drilled 2 small holes in it for the wires to protrude through, and then use my RCZ 56 to secure the bulbs. And once that's all cured out, I'll cut them out, and then they'll go in. And I'll use a smaller gauge wire as well, because these are 1.5-volt bulbs, and I'll have to use the resistors to bring the voltage down from 12 volts to 1.5. So we'll take a look at this later. I'll set this up and try and test the decoder, and we'll video that while I'm doing it. Okay, so let's test the decoder. I'm using this Beggar speaker, and I made a wooden baffle for it, and it's sealed in. And I think it has a really good deep sound to it, but I'm going to try one other speaker before I decide which speaker to put in. But this is just to test the decoder. So I've got the decoder plugged in. As you can see, there's a 27 ohm resistor under there. These are hooked up to alligator clips. These little pins right here I use on the other decoders. And then I'm hooked up to the track, which is being fed by the MRC Tech 6 2.0, so we'll hit So let's try a different speaker with it and see what that does. Okay, so let's see what this QSI deep bass. I don't have it down in the baffle completely, so, but it should be good enough. Well, I think I like the Master speaker better than the wood. It's a little more expensive, but I think it's got a lot better deep, mellow sound that these things typically have. Okay, I've got all the new wires on. This thing's about ready to plug into the decoder. The sound was perfect with the big wood box, but unfortunately the speaker was too large to go in. So I got busy and made a new wood box for the 1 by 1.1 by 1.1s. That's not the one it'll be in. But I've also noticed that with the speaker, the sound coming out of the back with the main sound going into the face of it, it really sounds good. So it doesn't look too fancy, the box it's going in I've already filed down and sanded and hit with some rusty prime to make it look like an old dirty old box. I've got holes for the speaker wires, but they'll be on the bottom, and these two holes right here are to miss the grab rails, because it's going to go blah 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 right there with the sound shooting forward, and it clears everything it needs to clear. It goes right back in here, just in front. This is where the cab ends, so it just goes in this little space right here, and it clears this quite well, and it'll come off with the shell, and the wires will be run to the side, so it should be fine. So we'll see. Okay, so I think I have all the wires run. That would be the left pickup, the right pickup up front. The speaker is in. The light is in. As you can see, I've fixed this. The customer wants this cab area where he can put an interior in it, so I've made sure that the light is up. The wires are up as high as they can get. Very little, if any, interference. I've painted around the light after I put a little bit of RCZ56 around it. Then painted it black, so one, it'll keep the light from reflecting out, and again, it makes it a little bit harder to see. The speaker is installed. The rear light wires are right here, the yellow and the blue. And you can see the resistor is on. The front light is installed, and you can see again the white is covering the resistor on that one. And then those wires over there, of course, are to the speaker. So it's basically nothing more now than getting the decoder out and starting to pop wires into it, and then we're going to see, then we're going to see just how this thing works. And it'll be my first O gauge 2-track conversion, and I'm not going to attempt a 3-track because they're AC and it just generates too many issues and too many problems. I'm trying to figure out how those are done, because I know they do them on a 3-track system for MTH and Lionel, and I've found some sources to go to. I just haven't done it yet, so maybe in the future, but at this moment I wouldn't consider anything beyond a 2-rail with the DC system. So let's see how much more of this we can put together and then put it on a test track and run it. Okay, so the decoder is wired. I've got it on the test track. Let's hit number 8 on the Tech 6. I've got it in forward, and I've got it on test rollers. I bought some track, but I have very little of it. So let's watch the rollers here for a second, and you can also see. Yeah, I got to work with a little bit more. I haven't got my lights yet, so I don't know what that's about, but it's in forward. That's the forward end. But no lights. So I'll have to mess with it. I'm going to wire it along. We'll check. Go back through the schematic. Everything else is working great. Almost there. Okay, Bob, recognize anything here? So let's fire this thing up. You notice in forward, you notice the lights. They stay dim until you start to give just a little bit of throttle. The horn automatically in this program gets you going. You can see these are the golden glow. These big guys don't get to go very far on the track, so it's a 37-inch track. I'm kind of hoping I can do more of these, so I didn't mind buying the track. I also had to buy these rollers so I could test it, which I've already used. And I've gotten quite an education, trust me, on this thing. It's been quite an experience. So let's put it in reverse. And again, you'll notice that the lights are on dim. And as soon as you give it a little bit of power, they come up. It automatically gives you 3 warning horns. You can turn the lights off, and you can turn back on again. But I'm pretty impressed with this decoder. It took me a long time to figure out what decoder I could use and just exactly what the systems were. You kind of got me into a place where I'm not familiar with. Anyway, wow, this sound. Your cab's wide open, so you can put your interior in it if you'd like. I'll send this to you and then give you a call and let you know you can watch the video. In the meantime, I'll see if I can figure out how much it's going to cost. I don't think it went too much over. With the doors open, you can see the decoder and you can see the motor. And some of the wires going forward. It worked out really good. And I've already shown what it looks like inside. The door is closed. Stick it in reverse. The other thing I like was I got a hold of QSI, I was having a problem with the wiring, and it was my fault, not theirs obviously, but they got right back to me. Tony even called me from Tony's Train Exchange, so I'm really impressed with the support I got out of them. And this QSI decoder, I'm pretty impressed with, and I hope you are too. So anyway, enough. Like I say, I'm pretty impressed with it. I'll get your rails all back in place and get all the rest of the screws in for the base and drop you a line. And I hope you're happy with it.